You know, there's a popular phrase that says, you're only as sick as your secrets. And maybe you've been carrying around secrets for months or years or even decades, and these secrets have become like a shadow that follows you everywhere. You can't escape it. You can't get away from it. It's always there. And this shadow is like a darkness that just haunts you. And here's the deal, y'all. You can't outrun this stuff. The only way to beat your shadow is to actually face your shadow. It's getting brutally honest with yourself, getting brutally honest with another person, getting brutally honest with God. And now, for those of you that may not be totally familiar with the 12 steps, there's steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and yes, we work them in order, and there's a good reason for this. But step 4 suggests that we take a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Now, I remember the first time I was starting step 4 with my sponsor and thinking to myself, how is this going to work? I mean, you're telling me that if I get all my stuff on paper, who I am, what I've done, my resentments, my anger, and I had a lot of anger, that this is somehow, some way, has something to do with me being free. And I didn't get it. And this is just going to make me feel even worse about myself. And he kept reminding me, yes, the truth will set you free. See, this was about coming face to face with my shadows, owning them. It's not about feeling bad about myself. By the way, it was the great theologian Richard Rohr who said, moral scrutiny is not to discover how good or how bad I am and regain some moral high ground, but it's to begin some honest shadow boxing, which is at the heart of all spiritual awakening. Yes, it's true. The truth will set you free, as Jesus says in John's Gospel, but first it tends to make you miserable. So before I even started writing, my sponsor suggested that I write at the top of each page of my notebook a very simple prayer, and that is, God, help me to be thorough and honest. God, help me to be thorough and honest. And that notebook started to fill up. And by the way, why is it miserable at first? Because when you get honest with yourself, when you start the shadow boxing, you are coming face to face with your anger, your pain, your fears, your character defects. You are coming face to face with your very real capacity to harm people, your dishonesty, your selfishness, the ways in which you used people to get what you wanted. Yeah, that can be painful. To see it, to write it down on paper, and yet it's the path to being free. It's painful because you're seeing what's really there for the first time. And for so long, you've lived a narrative that you thought was true. You've told yourself for so long, they're against me. My life doesn't work because of them. The media, that politician, that person, that group of people, whoever it is. My life doesn't work because of them, that family member, or that situation. And you tell yourself, well, if people would just listen to me more, and all this bad stuff came my way, and I've never done anything to cause it, and I don't have any role in this mess, oh, please. Are you done yet? And it's painful because now you're looking in the mirror and you're seeing what's really there. You see, ever since my girls were babies, I sang the same song to them. And it's a song called Beautiful Girl. And the first verse and chorus is, I've got you swaddled and I've got your bottle and you're too loud to ignore. Your mama's asleep and the angels are keeping, so cry no more. Hey, beautiful girl, he says daddy, but I change it to Poppy. Poppy loves you, most beautiful girl in the whole wide world. And see, our son Breck, he got older and I started to sing this song to him. And I would just replace girl with boy. So, hey, beautiful boy, Poppy loves you, most beautiful boy in the whole wide world. Now, Breck is 4 years old. And he's been traveling across the country in an RV this week with my mom and Joe. He FaceTimes me on Thursday afternoon. He says, Poppy, what's the name of that song you sing to me? You know, the Beautiful Boy song. What's the name of it? Because me and Nani want to look it up so I can play it. And I'm thinking, oh man, you can't look up the song because you're going to find out the real words and you're going to see that it's Beautiful Girl. And dude, you ain't going to like that. But he was persistent. And he looked up the song and he found the song on YouTube. And he calls me back. 5 minutes later, he FaceTimes me. And he's kind of angry this time. He says, Poppy, that song says girl. It says beautiful girl, and I'm a boy. And in that moment, his world came crashing down just a bit because for the first time, he was seeing what was really there. And yeah, that can be a bit rattling, huh? For some of y'all, you're just now coming to. For so long, you thought the song in life was this, and now you're seeing it's that. And you're seeing what's really there. Keep going. Keep embracing the hard work. Keep looking in the mirror even when it makes you angry. You know, Jesus says in Matthew's gospel, Matthew chapter 6, it's this part called the Sermon on the Mount. He says, the lamp of the body is the eye. If your eye is sound, your whole body will be filled with light. But if your eye is diseased, your whole body will be darkness. And if the lamp within you is in fact darkness, what darkness that will be. You see, getting honest, coming face to face with your shadow is about creating a good and trustworthy lamp inside of you that reveals what is really there. And you know that anything exposed to the light will become light itself. It's why we say, darkness, your shadow doesn't have to win. Because once it's exposed to the light, it can become light for others. Your story, the stuff you want to run from, the darkness in your story that makes you cringe, will do the work. And that stuff, those secrets you've been holding on to with every ounce of your energy, they can actually become light and healing and hope for others. And let me just be clear about something. Because anytime we get into these conversations, someone undoubtedly says, wait a minute, you want me to take inventory of my life? My actions? You want me to clean my side of the street? You don't know what happened to me when I was a kid. You don't know what he did to me. And look, if you were ever abused in any way, no matter the age, you need to know you did nothing wrong. It wasn't your fault. You have nothing to own with it. That's on them. Let it be on them, the abuser. Don't take on stuff that isn't yours. But how you live today, how you respond in the world today is totally up to you. And being filled with light is about seeing yourself clearly. I mean, the truth is, some of y'all had things happen along the way that were completely outside of your control. Tragedies, sufferings, untimely death of loved ones, totally not your fault. You might not have anything to own there other than your own feelings, but you're living as if you do. You're carrying baggage that isn't yours to carry. Stop doing that. Don't live in that shadow of shame. Getting honest, taking inventory, shadow boxing. I am convinced it is the greatest form of prayer because prayer is joining God in the act of ripping open your rib cage so that your heart can breathe again. And how many of y'all need to breathe again? You see, what happens when I don't do this hard work? What happens is I get really busy blaming other people and blaming the world around me. And pretty soon, your sins are really big and mine are really small. Your mistakes and wrongdoings are felonies while mine are just misdemeanors. You know what I mean? And you know what's really interesting? You know what Jesus talked about right after he talked about your eye and seeing clearly and being the lamp of your body? He talked about seeing the splinter in your brother or sister's eye, but not seeing the log in your own eye. Yeah, some of y'all have been there. You say, oh, I could take your inventory no problem, but taking my own, that's a lot harder. I know. Jesus was on to something, wasn't he? He says just after that, why do you see the splinter that's in your brother or sister's eye, but don't notice the log in your own eye? How can you say to your brother or sister, let me take the splinter out of your eye when there's a log in your eye? Sorry, I got to scroll back up. Take the log out of your eye, and then you'll see clearly to take the splinter out of your brother's or sister's eye. You see, I got sober on January 7, 2013. And on Christmas Day, just a few days before, we spent the day up at my sister and brother-in-law's house up in Longmont, Colorado. And I started to drink like I did. And things started to go south like they so often would. And later that night on the porch, my sister told me that she didn't want me coming around anymore. And y'all, for me, it was this crushing blow. It was like being kicked in the gut. And yet she had every right to say what she said to me. She said, man, Ryan, you're drunk again. And I don't want my kids to see this again. And man, I was filled with so much shame. I could not make sense of how I was a pastor and I couldn't put down a drink. I couldn't stop hurting the people that I loved the most. Now, we talk a lot about shame in this community, and sometimes we need to push it a bit further because you do know that shame can actually be a form of pride and ego, right? Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And how often do you hear something like this? What? I'm not hurting anyone else. I'm only hurting myself. And if that's not selfish and self-centered thinking, I don't know what is, because you know that's a bunch of BS. Shame has a masterful way of allowing you to see the splinter in your brother or sister's eye, but not the log in your own eye. And on the porch that Christmas night, I could stand there and in my head justify myself and blame my sister. Have you forgotten who I am, sis? I mean, come on, sis, just last night, I was preaching 5 different Christmas Eve services to a few thousand people. What do you mean you don't want me around? You're the one with the problem, not me. See, I spent so much of my time and energy blaming other people, other things. And you know what blame is, don't you? Blame is simply the discharging of pain and discomfort. And see, what I can affirm to you is this: the truth will set you free. It's the way it works. When I started getting honest in my life, it had a way of highlighting my need for God. Not to know about God, but to know God. It highlighted my need for other people in my life, real relationships, people who actually know me and all my shortcomings. It has a way of opening you up, and if you haven't experienced that, I can't tell you how freeing it is. And y'all, this isn't a one-time thing and then we're done and we got it. Taking inventory of ourselves has to become a way of life, because that shadow side loves to keep coming around, doesn't it? And I can also tell you, do the hard work and watch relationships in your life be restored. Sis is one of my best friends. She respects me and trusts me now. You want to be free? You got to deal with your shadows, your past, your darkness, the ugliest parts of you, the parts of you that are selfish, the parts of you that have a great capacity to harm others. And when you get the courage to do some shadow boxing to face your shadows, you've got to trust that God goes with you. There's a psalm where the psalmist says, not even the darkness is too dark for you. Talking about God. See, you can't do this work alone. You need God. You need community. It's about seeing differently, allowing your eye to be a trustworthy lamp so that your whole body, everything about your life becomes light. Because when I can see what's really there, then I can invite God in and own it, even the messiest parts of me, my story. Then I can start to have a different kind of life. one that's made up of love and grace and compassion and forgiveness of myself as well as others. You want to be free. What shadows in your life do you need to face? Where are the places in your life where you need to get brutally honest? Because remember, you can't outrun this stuff. The only way to beat your shadow is to actually face your shadow. And believe me, this community will stand with you as you face your shadows. And God is always with you. So here's the deal. Instead of giving you all a question, many times we'll end the message with a question for you all to engage. I want you all to just take a moment and find some quiet space in your space, some quiet space in your interior. And I want you to reflect on this song/poem. And you might want to, I don't know, maybe you want to open your hands, a sign of openness. Maybe you want to cross your legs, however you're comfortable. I want to invite you into this time of reflection. If you're in a free circle and you're with others, I invite you all to quiet as a group and engage this reflective moment within yourself.
I never hold my cards with you. I just throw them up in the air to see what you will do. Feels like I'm dancing for only you to see when you pick up the cards and hold them just for me. Oh, oh, oh. You tend to guard your words with me. Keep them safely on your tongue so that they don't run free. But I don't need your voice to hear the whispers through the dark, 'cause they lie safely in the silence between our hearts. Oh, oh, oh. So I'll show you my heart. You whisper through the dark and will go safely to nowhere. I'll show you my heart. You whisper through the dark and will go safely to the nowhere. I'll show you my heart. You whisper us through the dark and will go safely. Oh.